Hi Libra, welcome to June. I'm filming this under the lunar eclipse in Sagittarius, and that is your third house. It is to do with communication, it's to do with speech, it's to do with articulation, and the way that you communicate with others, the way that you put your point across, often very beautifully, but also a time to consider where you could communicate a bit differently to yourself. An internal dialogue is so private and yet quite obvious. You can tell when someone is at odds with themselves in their energy. You, I find, is a sign when you're out of balance, can be very, very agitated. And what puts you out of balance? A lack of fairness, a lack of listening, especially a lack of listening. So when we talk about the third house of communication, we talk also about listening. And yet we rarely hear people in astrology say, the third house is where we learn to listen. It's not just where we talk, it's where we listen. For many of you, an eclipse, depending on where it's hitting in your chart, but to have the eclipse in your third house can suggest the eclipsing out of a conversation, the eclipsing out of lines of communication with somebody. Perhaps you're severing a cord there, perhaps you are going on a social media cleanse, perhaps you are deciding no longer to read the news. A lot of the third house is to do with the information we ingest. And for a lot of you, you're not feeling aligned anymore with a particular dialogue, with a particular source of information. For some of you, it's a sibling. For some of you, it's a neighbor. Whatever it is, Libra, do not fear that you will not receive the information that you need to receive this month, because you will. A lot of this month is to do with reflecting. A lot of it is to do, particularly in terms of your work and your career, in what you contribute to the world, your reputation. A lot of it's to do with that. Page of Wands. The way that you express yourself. The way that you create something. The way that you begin something. The energy that you put into your endeavors, the alchemy, the ability to manifest. What would you like to manifest? Pages rule conversations and communications. They are messengers. The magician is magic. A message of magic. A message of power. And where does the power of the magician lie? Not in his tools, but in his mind. What he sees in his mind, he can create with his hands. It is the expression flipped on its head, I'll believe it when I see it, to I'll see it when I believe it. Interesting. Judgment. It's pretty big. Judgment is very life-changing. It's very much listening to our inner voice tell us something over and over and over and over and over until we can't ignore it anymore. For many of you, Gemini season is a resurrection, as it is for many people, of lovers from the past, of people from the past, of voices from the past. I think for some of you it's wanted. Justice. You will fight for fairness, you will fight for justice, you will make more of an impact than you thought possible, particularly where legal matters are concerned. For some of you, this is a turning point in legal matters. For some of you, it's a big decision. For some of you, it is a life-changing decision in terms of what path you seek to take. Many Libras go back to the law. Many Libras practice law. It's in your nature. I have Venus and Libra in the 7th. The law was the avenue that I went down. For many of you, it's just in your blood. Why? Because you want to be fair. Because you can see all sides. You can see all the facts, and you can do so with a sense of ethics and detachment that is quite impressive. As far as your romantic relationships with this kind of energy, is that I think for a lot of you, there is an event, a relationship, something where someone did not act fairly, and it's playing on your mind, especially if it was you. Queen of Swords. Where there was a boundary that was established, where there was a boundary that was crossed, where someone was very cold and quite cutting, is always where you find the Queen of Swords. She's very protective, but she's very determined, and she's very impressive. Where there has been decisions, I think a lot of it is to do with the mind over the heart. 3 of Wands. You wait to see what decisions you have to make, what ships are coming in, and I think for a lot of you, the future in the midst of these big changes looks quite uncertain. It looks quite scary, but it is a voice you cannot ignore anymore. Your mind is cast to the future, particularly as far as career matters are going. But don't worry, it'll be good. By Leo season, you see yourself ready. Emperor. See yourself ready to make some big calls and big decisions, and to fight for what you believe is right. As far as career goes, as Cancer season is primarily about for you, you got the power. You got a lot of power, you got a lot of respect, you've got a lot of drive. Mars enters Aries at the end of the month, going into your partnership zone. Over the next 6 months, as far as love goes, you'll be able to fight for what you want. You'll be able to get what you want, whether it's somebody new, whether it's even in the past. I think for a lot of you, there is a resurgence of your kind of relationships. Oftentimes, I find Libras that really want a partnership. They really seek a partnership. They really seek a union. There's sometimes compromising to an unhealthy degree, compromising with your basic needs in order to make something work, in order to make something happen. Mars in your partnership zone is challenging. There's no way about it, but Mars rules your relationships, and to have it in your relationship sign is huge. For such a long time, it's huge. And so the conversations in many relationships go to marriage, justice. They go to legal matters, they go to balanced connections, big decisions. Many of you with the Sun and the Emperor find yourself with Leo or Aries counterparts. But I think a lot of this is to do with the astrology. When we're in Leo season, Mars is in shadow in your relationship sector. The door to the past is open, but not in the sense necessarily that it means people from the past reappear. It can, but with retrogrades, it's more to do with re-examining things. I think for a lot of you, it's re-examining where you have bailed out too easy or not bailed out quick enough. You know, it's different for everybody. It's re-investigating the way we do certain things. For you, it's in relationships. Until then, your career is a big focus. Where do you feel like you could be leading more, because you're a natural leader? Where do you feel like you could be earning more? Where do you feel like you could be contributing more? Where do you feel like you could be a bit more dominant? I think a lot of you are going to find yourself in higher positions as far as your career goes. The eclipse, the solar eclipse, we have it right here, is in your 10th house, which is very emperor-like. It's very prestigious. It is a position you can only fit into when you know you can do it. Is your inner dialogue telling you that you can do it, or is it telling you that you can't? It should be telling you that you can. It should be telling you that you're worth more. It should be telling you that you could go for bigger, because you can. Big decisions to consider, none to be taken too lightly. But I think for a lot of Libras, your ambition, your desire to thrive, your desire to make something of yourself skyrockets. And it's a wonderful new moon for those kind of opportunities to flood in. And of course, when you are happy in your career, you do so much better romantically too. A lot of you are re-investigating relationships with air signs, with Aquarius, with other Libras, or with Geminis. Where you're re-investigating somebody from the past that is an air sign that chose somebody else over you, you will know in your heart if that is what they're doing now. If you have nothing to worry about, you won't worry. If you're worried, the Venus retrograde is so funny because it is it's throwing a lot of people up from the past, and many times it's kind of as though the universe is asking you, did you get the message? You know, was it you, or was it them, or what was the issue? Because the issue, it's always going to still be there, just how you deal with it. And I think for a lot of you, the only kind of relationships that you're going to want to revisit, particularly when Mars starts hitting there, anything shaky will not survive. Not through a Venus retrograde, not through a Mars retrograde. Things like that just cannot survive that level of reflection, that level of closeness. Retrogrades bring us closer to the energies, not further apart. And the closer you are to something, the more in your face it is, the more you can't ignore it. You will not tolerate something that is not fair. Especially not if it's already had its chance. For those of you who are wishing or engaging in something new, you have the ability to manifest a lot of chemistry. But it may not be as shallow as you expect it to be. Mars Mars in Aries is going to be a big change for you. I think it's going to be positive for many of you. It depends, obviously, with the stars. It always depends on how you work with it individually. When Mars is sitting right across for you for such a long time, you can't ignore it. You just cannot. It is an energy you can harmonize with. You can find that kind of balance. Or it is an energy that you can feel very aggravated by. Anything in the sky that sits across from you is impactful. And this is an extended stay. Mars hasn't been this long in Aries in a very long time, and it's going to impact everybody. For you, very much romantic, but also to do with contracts, legal matters, right here. There's big energy shifting, and you owe it to yourself to give everything, whether it's love, whether it's business, whether it is friendship, whether it is family. You owe it to yourself to give it careful consideration. And particularly Libra, at the end of the month, do not jump to conclusions. And also around the middle of the month, the Mars Neptune meet up in your 6th house is asking you to be careful with substances, careful with what you put in your body, careful with how you're treating your body, and careful with huge decisions as far as your work goes. Feel it out. A lot of the time, eclipses, in my experience, do a lot of the work for you. You just have to reflect and see what it means. And I think you would do a pretty good job of that, because that is your niche. So, what's there to worry about? But I have to say, this is so impressive. Very warm. Temperatures are soaring for you as you go into Cancer season, particularly in career. Your time in the spotlight is coming. Your opportunities that you need are coming. And if you're looking for something new, particularly in law, you'd be amazed. You'd be amazed at what just falls into your lap. I'll see you in the extended. We'll get further into the romance, into the career, into the Aries, the Leo, the Earth sign, and the air sign. See you there, Libra. Bye.